Good afternoon.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon and welcome to TFEA's COVID-19 webinar, Communicating with Your Stakeholders. It is my pleasure to introduce Jay Downie, CFEE and past chair of TFEA. He is the Director of Events for Downtown Fort Worth Initiatives, both the Main Street Fest and the Fort Worth Parade of Lights. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you. As you can see, we started off at a fine clip to the front of the presentation. Hope everyone was able to see the slides as we came through. I'd like to start by giving an update on a couple of things that have come up. Hopefully, you've seen some information. I think on June 3rd, Governor of Texas will be bringing out a little bit more information about July 4th events. That's something that came up at our conference call just earlier in the week when we were talking mostly about July 4th events. And, you know, in that session, I think Shanna Kate mentioned that there was going to be a presentation. I've since followed up with our police officers, the police department emergency operations folks, and yes, there is going to be something that will come out of the governor's office about that. So that's something to kind of stay in tune on. And then I'd also like to mention that Disney will be planning to open Disney World. You probably saw some of the information come out. They plan on opening Disney in July. And the interesting part about that is that they came out with a disclaimer that they have put in all of their messaging, and it has to do with the pandemic, the COVID-19 situation, and essentially saying enter at your own risk. So if you're entering Disney World or their properties, understand that this is a deadly disease. You could contract it there, and you know they'll be doing all the best practices to try and keep audiences separated and that sort of thing, which does affect, of course, the due diligence, and that comes up in insurance. But you know, this is the first time you've started to see some of the disclaimers come out that sort of say, you know, don't come back on us if you contract the disease. So I thought those were two elements worth mentioning. The state of Wyoming has canceled all their rodeos through the summer. Of course, the Ohio State Fair is canceled. Minnesota State Fair is canceled. We have not heard directly from State Fair of Texas. The Main Street Arts Festival has been postponed to September. I work with Downtown Fort Worth, Inc. And you know, our September dates are somewhat flexible because we're kind of waiting for a game decision, based on the stadium and their use of some properties downtown before we actually finalize a weekend. But, you know, we're obviously looking at everything going into the fall event season to just be aware of the kind of procedures we're going to have in place in order to open. We've had some attrition with our artists. Most who have stepped back it's been because they really don't want to be in the crowds. But we still have retained, you know, a good 200 artists who are still willing to stay with us. So that's a little head update for us, and I wanted to give that to you before we get started. So with that in mind, we do have some question and answer panel. If you have any questions and answers, well, if you have answers, insert those too. But if you have questions, feel free to enter those in, and we'll try. And if there's something you'd like to share with us, Jessica will be working with us to take a look, and we'll, between the two of us, we'll make sure your microphone is on. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce a good friend of mine. She is with the Grapevine CVB with over 30 years of event experience. She has been very active in TFEA and IFEA throughout the years, and just runs a tremendous operation in the city of Grapevine. So I'd like to turn things over to Gayle Hall, who will take us through some of her experiences with volunteers. So Gayle, welcome aboard, and I think you've got a guest with you as well.
Thank you, Jay. Welcome everybody to the wonderful Zoom broadcast that I'm learning so much more about technology. So I'm old. I don't mind saying that. And old dogs are hard to teach all these new tricks. But we're thrilled to be a part of this and thrilled to be a part of being able to give back to TFEA and IFEA as we see what the new normal is. We grow together to learn what the new normal is and try to make everybody as safe as we can and as healthy as we can and informed as we can. Luke Wolford, one of our managers, is here with me because he primarily works with everything, but he is also the first point of contact with our volunteers, our volunteer program. Also, he works closely with Volunteer Local, one of our partners, not just for us, but with TFEA and IFEA, helping us to do a better job in collecting, keeping, retrieving, educating, mentoring, and bringing back volunteers year after year. I'm very proud and happy to be able to be one of the first slides that I hope you're all seeing that says Grapevine, Texas Festivals and Events Volunteers. They're the key to our events. None of us in the state could do events if we didn't have the volunteers that we do. So they are one of our largest stakeholders in giving back event after event and year after year. The first slide that you have there shows some of the different areas that we have volunteers in at two of our major festivals, as well as in the center of the page, you have a picture. Oh yeah, somebody knows Luke. I can see that there on the screen.
Real
Some
quick,
of our volunteers.
Gayle, I'm going to interrupt real quick and say, Jay, if you could share your screen, we're not seeing the slides.
Yeah, we get those slides up.
Awesome.
Slides. Okay. I know Jay hates to put Grapevine slide right there at the first, but that's okay. We're neighbors. We get along. Dallas and Fort Worth and Grapevine. I use the tagline as Grapevine is where Dallas and Fort Worth meet. Luckily for Jay, he does events all over the United States, so it's not just about Fort Worth for him, but it's still fun. There it is. Thank you.
I thought I had it up
You
before.
Yeah. You see our snow cone stand volunteers there in the top left who work to help us raise money for our sister city in Paras de la Fuente in Coahuila, Mexico. Our volunteer local brand, our partner there that helps us so much in scheduling our volunteers. Our volunteer group, the Grapevine Wine Pouring Society, that pours wine at all the events that we do year round, 135 members strong. Some of our volunteers in the other pictures from Grape Fest and Main Street Fest, pouring craft beer, pouring wine. Our co-chairs for this year's Main Street Fest, a craft brew experience at the bottom right, Stacy and Gayle Holt, they're both volunteers. And the IFEA Volunteer of the Year, Lou Ann Chapman-Gatz, the one in the sunglasses there at the bottom, been a volunteer with our events for over 25 years and was happily for us selected as the Volunteer of the Year last year at the IFEA convention. So very proud to be able to banter that. The next slide, please, Jay. Grapevine Festivals and Events consist of many events. This is just a few of the events listed with the two largest at the top. Main Street Fest is traditionally in May. This year we postponed it. It is still on the schedule and we are truly waiting on that governor and that Texas Strike Force meeting that's next week because it was rescheduled when it was back in February. It was rescheduled to June the 26th to the 28th. We're 1 month away from that, planning feverishly with protocols, safety, communications, updates every day, email updates to our volunteers, our civic and service groups, etc., reminding them that until we get that call and we know, which we have been told that call will be next week, we will know at that time whether or not we will actually have the Main Street Fest Festival the end of June. I can't tell you at this moment if it's going to be postponed again or it's going to be canceled. All I can tell you from our city leadership and such down, currently it is scheduled, it's running forward, we're working feverishly. We do have volunteers signed up for it, and we do have some civic and service groups signed up. We also have some people that have said because of their age, their abilities, their concerns, that they won't volunteer for this one, but they will definitely be back for the next one. But one of the really important things is to keep them informed. Our largest event of the year from a festival standpoint is in September each year, Grape Fest, a Texas wine experience. Has about over 200,000 people at it for a 4-day festival in September. That is currently in the plan, and thank you, Jay, for planning your event the week before ours and not the same weekend of, as you come back in working with Main Street Arts Festival. Our largest city event that really encompasses the whole city, all of our hotels, all of our stakeholders and everything, is called the Christmas Capital of Texas. And we do have a Senate resolution of being the Christmas Capital of Texas. Within it, we have the North Pole Express, which operates with our Grapevine Vintage Railroad, which is our own storytelling of the train, ride on the train, sing Santa, a movie, a production on a stage in a large tent. We do approximately 115 runs on the train, working on weekends only, and then the last full week before Christmas, running 115 runs, sold out every event with a sellout crowd of like 489 passengers per run. So we run about 50,000 people for the event. We also decorate downtown Grapevine, have a Christmas parade, have all kinds of other Christmas activities. We use volunteers at all these events. Then in the fall, we have smaller events, Butterfly Flutterby, Jazz Wine Trains, Blessing of the Vines, Jimenez Wine and Gallery Trail. Those things are all taking place in October and November while we're setting up for Christmas and getting out of Grape Fest and trying to take a breath somewhere in there. Next slide, please. And that's a picture of Main Street set up during one of the major festivals there on the right. Okay, what this segment is all about is volunteers. And one thing that I say to my team, because we are a team working together with 2 managers and administrative assistant, and then myself, we have a marketing team behind us, which is the marketing team of the Grapevine Convention and Visitors Bureau. They help us take care of the marketing, the advertising, help us with our creative, working on all the different collateral items, the posters, the brochures, the rack cards, the different things we do, the ads that we buy. But communication is the key to everything. It's the key to all stakeholders that we all work with on a daily basis, but it's truly, truly the key to volunteers. Our volunteers on an annual basis put in approximately 42,000 volunteer hours over the course of the different events that we do that uses volunteers. We have approximately 3,800 volunteers that support us through our 2 major events, Main Street and Grape Fest, and then a few more at the other events that we do. Yes, we do a lot of contractors. We do a lot of contract workers. We do a lot of civic and service organizations. Max on that Grape Fest is approximately 35 to 37 civic and service groups. That's additional volunteers. The other is unique volunteers. The civic and service groups we bring in to manage and work our beverage booths, because we carry the TABC license, temporary license, for alcohol sales. We are strictly a wine and beer sales festival. There is no hard liquor. Our food booths are all managed by independent contractors or civic and service groups. We sell that. They use their own volunteers to work their booths naturally. We communicate with all of them on a year-round basis, monthly with newsletters. We try to keep them in the know on everything that's going on, even during this time. I've been in the office all the time. The managers, admins have been at home working. We communicate daily with emails and tasks, phone calls, things of that sort. I've learned more about GoToWebinars, GoToMeetings, and Zoom in the last 3 months than I've known in a lifetime of learning different ways. I've even learned Microsoft Teams meetings during this mess. But we try to keep everybody informed by letting them know updates weekly or bi-weekly. At this point, we're doing weekly and in some cases daily. We have a volunteer team of leadership that is civic leaders, city leaders, and people that are willing to give us their heart, soul, and life for a period of about 6-8 months to have meetings, to have planning. And then they're the captains or the directors over the different areas and divisions of the festival. We have a year-round communication mode of the volunteer newsletter, communicating through volunteer locals, sending out releases to them. We have many different ways to communicate the newsletters, doing individual as well as group emails, doing orientations before our meetings, doing weekly meetings and monthly meetings early on with our festival committee. We do a lot of things to try to recognize our volunteers, to make them feel appreciated, make them know that we love them and we want them to return and how important they are to our programs. Because once again, if we didn't have those volunteers, there's no way our bottom line would ever have a chance of being in the black. Our volunteers help us to get in that black and make a profit. Because if we had to hire all this labor and pay out contract labor for everything, you'd spend all your money on labor and you wouldn't have money to give back. The neat part of giving back, our volunteers don't just come from the city of Grapevine. We have volunteers that come from all over the Metroplex. We have volunteers that have lived here and moved away and actually plan vacations and come back in on an annual basis to work and volunteer during our festival. They understand and know, and we put it on all of our marketing material, that the proceeds of our Main Street Fest and our Great Fest festivals go to historic preservation in Grapevine. So you can probably walk down the streets of Main Street and other areas. You can see the different buildings that have been bought, repurposed, refurbished into the historic atmosphere so that they are a part of that historic preservation project. I get to brag about the fact that Grapevine has a truly, truly historic district. Our Main Street Historic District has buildings that are up to 115 years old with a lot of plaques on them. We have a lot of buildings that are 60 and 70 and 80 years old. The buildings that the city and our Grapevine Heritage Foundation 501c3 has purchased and refurbished are city property that the community gets to enjoy, gets to see. It's different museums. It's where our train depot is. It's our Palace Theater. And all of those things have been bought and paid for and refurbished with proceeds of Main Street Fest and Great Fest. That's another reason that our volunteers are proud to work and give back to the community, because they see where their hard labor is going to. We have volunteer recognitions at each of the large festivals, where we give awards in all kinds of different categories and all the different departments within the festival grounds. They get certificates. We have a volunteer of the festival, volunteer of the year for that festival, that gets the proud rosette and ribbon that they wear all during the festival. We have appreciation dinners for all of our volunteers after the festival that we truly have 550 to 600 people show up at that dinner. It's one night. No, everybody can't come because everybody's schedule is not always empty. But we always have a tremendous crowd at it, where we feed them a nice dinner from a Grapevine restaurant and beverages to go along with that. At our volunteer orientation, as well as our volunteer awards dinner, we have door prizes that have been donated by our merchants in Grapevine with a value of anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 worth of door prizes. We give out about 40, 45 door prizes. They like those trinkets. They like those things. Everything from a kayak to a Yeti cup to different things. So it's truly, they give to us and we give back to the community. It's a very high-spirited, community-driven organization of festivals and events. We are a department of the City of Grapevine. The CVB is a department of the City of Grapevine, and we're a division of the CVB. The other thing that's unique about Grapevine and our events, which I've said this many times at many conferences talking, the full city gets behind all of these events, supports them, provides manpower for them, everything from city leadership all the way down to the hourly employees. Every department is involved: Public Works, Parks and Rec, Police, Fire, Water, Sewer, everything. Even the library. They all pitch in. They all do their part to make Grapevine shine and make Grapevine what it is. Thanks to Luann as a volunteer many years ago, been in it for 25 years. She helped write the program whenever we chose to try to enter the IFEA World Festival and Event City Award. We were fortunate 8 years ago to win that award, so I proudly use that logo on all the stuff that we do, along with IFEA, TAFE, and TFEA. But winning the prestigious award in 2012 helped skyrocket our events even more in a marketing standpoint. So I would encourage all of you to take the time to enter awards through TFEA and IFEA. More importantly, get your volunteers involved in helping create these award opportunities and the things that you do with it, getting them involved in going to conventions when they can. I realize some of us don't have the budgets, and right now, none of us really have the budget. But the more that you can promote them and the more that you can get them involved in what you do, the easier it will make your job eventually after you mentor and train, because they get it, they want to be a part of it, and they want to be more a part of it when they can be. So I encourage you to get them all involved. Be sure you tell them real often how much you love them and appreciate them, and then be sure you show them, and then keep communicating. And once again, if you've got questions, be sure and write them in,
Right.
and we'll get to them at the end. And thank you, Jay.
Gayle, thank you so much. You run a tremendous program there from a volunteer standpoint, and set the bar very, very high with the number of events and the sheer numbers of participants. And I think that's just fantastic. I think I'm going to share with everyone who's on the presentation to enter your questions into the Q&A, and we'll, as we get to the end of the presentation, we will go to the questions and answers and come back to them. So feel free to use the Q&A space there in your view to enter your questions. The next presenter today will be Mike Baxter with the City of Tomball, and Mike has been working in this industry for over 40 years. Six Flags, Astroworld, Splashtown Water Park, Traders Village. Currently, he serves as Director of Marketing and Tourism for the City of Tomball, and owner of the Houston-based Texas Festival and Tourism Consulting Company. So he's a past chair. I'd like to turn things over to Mike, and he'll talk a little bit more about artists, participants, food vendors, people who are really forming the core of an event.
You got my slides, Jay?
Yeah, hold on.
Thank you. All right, when just a little background to start with. Tomball's festival program was actually created back in 2011 as the primary tool. It was to be a marketing tool to increase awareness of this little town in Northwest Harris County. The secondary goal, however, was to provide entertainment, but the main goal was to bring the people up here for the first time, let them see the town, and hopefully come back at a later time. And so it's worked really well. We built the program based on the startup of a theme park, since I'd had that experience before in 3 other situations. And being that this was a startup program, that just seemed like a great template to use. Every theme park has a slogan. So we created Tomball Texan for Fun. And it's actually registered with the state of Texas. Every theme park has its own walk around mascot, like a Mickey Mouse. Ours is Rusty Rails, the railroad engineer, because this was actually a railroad town. Every theme park has its attractions, and our attractions are the unique mom and pop shops and restaurants in the downtown area. And then every theme park has its rides. And so we considered then our festivals as being our rides. So it wasn't long before Tomball became a real destination for local and outer market tourists. And it's been growing every year since 2011. But all that changed this March. For the first time, we actually had to go in and cancel 2 city signature festivals this spring. The Honky Tonk Chili Challenge, which is a old style hardwood floor dancing honky tonk festival with a Cassie sanctioned chili cook-off. And the second event is our biggest event of the spring, the Rails and Tails Mud Bug Festival, held down at the depot. Combined attendance on that is 20,000 people every year. We've also had to cancel the city-hosted Tomball German Heritage Festival. It's a 3-day event, 50,000 people. First time that's ever had to happen as well. Then we had 2 large city-hosted events that have been postponed to the fall. And one of those was a fundraiser for the Rotary Club that included a concert featuring Roger Krager and Corey Morrow, who had donated their time for this event. And so we have finally found a date in November that they're going to be able to restage this event. We've also had to restructure our annual July 4th celebration and street festival, which is one of the TFEA award-winning events a few years back. This annual festival is held on Business Highway 249. So we have to get permission from TxDOT to actually shut down that section of road. And now all we're going to be able to do is the fireworks, it looks like. It'll be kind of a drive-in movie type thing. The last time July 4th fell on a Saturday, we had more than 20,000 festival goers in the street, elbow to elbow, and an estimated 20,000 more were parked throughout Tomball to watch the fireworks. So we felt like, obviously we had to eliminate the festival aspect of this. But what we're doing this year is we've tagged the title of the event as Social Distancing with a Bang. And we will be airing a specially made music bed over the city's low power FM radio station, KTTF. That's Tomball Texan for Fun. And so folks can sit in and around their vehicles and listen to the broadcast. And the first 60 minutes of the broadcast will play before the fireworks. And what we will do is pepper that with messages from the mayor, telling people to social distance and welcoming them to the city, and just whatever kind of messaging we want to put in that. And then the second 30 minutes will be the patriotic music that plays during the fireworks itself. Another thing that we're having an issue with right now is that some of our fall festivals are in jeopardy because of the loss of hot funds, since no one was staying in our hotels. So we've already discussed a plan B that will include having to cut events this fall and possibly into the springtime as well. So next slide, please. So relationships are so important. Having a personal and a business relationship has made this whole thing so much easier to manage with our food vendors, our vendors in general, and with our entertainers, the folks we rent things from for our festivals and events as well. Over the years, we've been able to really go out of our way to build a mutual trust with our festival partners. In fact, some of the people that we work with today, I have worked with over the past 25 or 30 years at other places like Traders Village and Splashtown Water Park. And they've just followed me from those other venues to this. So we have a very good relationship. As far as the food vendors, they know that we want them to succeed. We go out of our way not to book multiple vendors selling the same food products. We work with them when it comes to the Harris County Health Department guidelines and the fire marshal inspections and locating their spaces close to power outlets and water and whatever we can do to make it easy for them, because they're like family, they're like friends, and we want that to continue. With our artists and entertainers, we always pay a fair price for a performance. We hear stories all the time from people we work with, from bands, about people trying to lowball them on things. And we understand that for a lot of these guys, it's not just a second occupation. It's the real thing, and this is how they make their money. So we're really fair with them when it comes to what we pay. We provide them with a simple letter of agreement versus a lengthy, complicated contract, unless they want us to sign their lengthy, complicated contract. They're always paid on time before the performance begins, and then we take care of them on stage. We make sure that they have water, towels, and whatever it is that they might need on that stage to have a good experience with the city of Tomball. And by doing that, they want to come back, and then the word gets out about how we handle the performers that come to town. So we have a lot of word of mouth recommendations. People say, hey, I heard that this band played there before. We're good friends with them, and therefore, we want to come and perform for you as well. One thing that I started years ago, and it's worked out really well, is that I always try to greet each band member at the end of the set as they're breaking down. You go up on the stage and you shake hands with every single person in that band, because people tend to gravitate to, the lead singer or the leader of the band, and they kind of forget about the other guys in the group. So it's very important to us that we let everyone in that band know that we really appreciate the fact that they're there performing for us. Now, we've tried to stay in touch with our bands and with our food vendors throughout this time. We check in with them and give them calls or send them emails, and just making sure they understand that, we care about them and just want to know what's going on in their lives right now. And we've even carried that over to our community center that is under the marketing department here in Tomball. And so our staff every week calls all of the seniors and all the other folks who take part in the programs at our community center, just to check in with them, see if there's anything that we can do to help them. If they need a bottle of hand sanitizer, we can provide it to them. And so that goes a long way. Our vendors and our artists are also encouraged to follow Tomball Texan for Fun, which is our Facebook page for entertainment and the activities going on, so that they can stay up to date on our activities. And they can also find out about tips from Harris County's ever-changing stay-at-home work safe order. Things happen here with our city, the county judge, and then the governor will come back and say, well, you can't do that. So things are changing on a regular basis here. Our vendors, let's see, like I said, have also, they're involved with the Tomball Texan for Fun. And then over the years, we've created relationships with our artists and vendors to the point that, like I said earlier, they, we kind of look at them as family and as friends. That one of our groups, the Fab Five, on a regular basis, they play the same event year after year on the same weekend. Well, one of the band members has a birthday on that weekend. And so he's not always able to be at home, with his family on his birthday. So we always provide him with a birthday cake or birthday cupcakes, and we promote it from the stage, and everybody sings happy birthday to him. So that's just a little added thing we do. We know some of the families, the kids for some of our food vendors, because we've known them so long. We have watched these kids grow up over the years at our festivals, and now they're helping mom and dad, sell product at our events. So, that's very important. It's all about relationships, and it's made this so much easier for us to deal with at this time. Okay, next slide, please, Jay. So our current situation is, as I mentioned before, since early in March, we've had to cancel 2 major city festivals and events and downsize a third. Our artists and food vendors have continued to be very, very understanding, and it's all about that relationship that we have with them. Very few vendors have actually requested refunds, and most have decided to just roll over any payments that they had made to the springtime events to an event in the fall. So that's worked out well for us. And just as a side note, the Harris County Health Department is not issuing any refunds to the food vendors who've gotten permits for our event. They're only issuing credits toward future events. And because of our relationships with the bands, no artist has asked to be paid for canceling the event. They didn't even ask for a percentage like we would normally pay if it was a rain out and we've had to cancel the event. And the same goes for all of our rental companies with signed contracts, let's say for stage, sound, lighting, tables, tents, chairs, porta-cans, and things like that. So we've worked with them so long, we've got such a great relationship that they're being very understanding with us. So again, it's all about the relationships. So like I said, we're just looking forward to the fall. We're hoping that we don't have to cancel any more events as we roll into that area, but the lack of budgeting at this point is probably going to happen. Our cancellation protocol at this time will continue to be a 30-day. We did a 60-day protocol on the 4th of July because there's so many different moving parts were involved in that. But we're still trying to stick with just that 30-day cancellation policy. And luckily for us, unlike many festivals, we don't charge admission or parking. So there was really no loss of revenue there. And since we haven't had to pay the bands or equipment rental, we saved there as well. So the only loss in monies this year that we've experienced so far are for any kind of advanced advertising payments that we had to make on those events that turned out to be canceled. So one thing to remember too is, you want to keep that good media relationship going as well. So, we would make the payment no matter what, but it's just something to keep in mind. So now we're moving on to the fall, and again, questions at the end if you have any.
Great, thanks, Mike. It's interesting to see how strong you have built relationship with all your different constituents. And I think the framework that you've built in Tomball, based, the theme park, my background's theme park as well. It's kind of interesting to be pulling some of those resources into play when you're actually producing events. So again, we'll have questions and opportunity for questions at the end. I'm going to move next to the City of McAllen. Joe Vera will be joining us, along with his marketing and events director, Selena Jimenez. So they'll be talking a little bit more about sponsors and the communications with sponsorship, the sponsors involved in events that may have actually been postponed, canceled, or perhaps in a challenging situation now. So I'd like to turn things over. I'm not sure if Joe's on and if you're both on the line here.
I'll go ahead and get started, Jay. Thank you.
Okay, hello.
Hello. I'm so happy to be joining all of you on this call and to continue to learn from our excellent panelists. I think these webinars that we've been able to participate in have been really, really great. I know for our team, they've really helped us with new ideas and inspiration. So I hope that some of the examples and information that I'll be talking about will inspire everyone as well, as much as I've been inspired by these previous webinars. I think when it comes to our sponsors as a team, as a whole, we've always kept top of mind that building that strong rapport with our partner, fostering the relationship, and continuing to engage with them throughout the year, not just at event time, is really, really important. we have an amazing team here who recognizes and knows that communication is always key, to mimic what the previous panelists have mentioned. Communication and relationships. We can't be in this business without it. It's vital to our operations and the success of our event. Communication before, during, and after the event is so important. I will say that I think a lot of our team, most of us have come to a point where we almost do it as second nature. I think it's because we do foster those relationships throughout the year. And it's, you know, it makes it easy to pick up the phone and have a casual chat. And you don't have to kind of overthink what you're going to say, because we have those kind of easy relationships with so many of our partners. You know, when kind of everything shifted for us, we knew that we had to continue the conversation with everyone. We knew that we not only had to stay top of mind, but let our partners know that we were there for them. I recall at the beginning, you know, or it might have been mid-March again, early March, I was able to be on a different webinar regarding tourism and you know, tourism, how it would affect the state and everything. And one thing that really stuck out to me was you want to stay present with whoever your stakeholders are, because that's what people will remember, especially in times like this. So that's something that I've definitely taken to heart. And I think as a team, we've continued to move forward with that mindset. Mid-March, we really had a shift here in the city of McAllen. That's kind of, I would say, the noticeable turning point for us, where several of our city facilities, like our community centers, our convention center, performing arts center, our department administration offices, our different programming was suspended or closed. So obviously that had the team in a bit of an adjustment and planning period as a whole. Our excellent city management team knew obviously ahead of time that these changes would be coming and that communication would be key with us as employees and all of the stakeholders for the city. So from those conversations came a communications plan, and within that communications plan, the Make the Most of McAllen marketing campaign was born. So that was just kind of the campaign that was the campaign that told the story and would continue to tell the story of all the initiatives that we would be putting in place during this time and our response to different needs within the community. So on the screen, you'll see kind of a snapshot of what the Make the Most of McAllen campaign encompasses, and additional items continue to be added to it. The grab and go meals, the meals and spirits delivered and curbside, because restaurants were affected, Wi-Fi hotspots, because there are many children within our community who may not have Wi-Fi at home, and now they're in the situation where they would be doing their schoolwork from home and maybe had a laptop from the school but didn't have a way to plug in with their classmates or, you know, calls like this. So we had Wi-Fi hotspots placed throughout the city. You know, we had this kind of shift in the mindset of people where, you know, when there's an emergency situation like a hurricane or a weather happening, you immediately start stocking up on water. Well, coronavirus is not going to affect necessarily our water source. So we had a campaign focused on how City of McAllen water is excellent to drink. You know, don't panic if you can't find water bottles at the store. The grab and go meals, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation, are also included as part of the Make the Most of McAllen campaign. Within 10 days of kind of that mid-March shift that I mentioned, we decided that we needed to touch base with our partners. So we drafted this short email that I've included here. And it went out to all City of McAllen partners, regardless of their investment, regardless of how many events they participate in annually. Everyone received this email from us with the subject line, "We are here for you." And it just kind of let them know we're here. We have assets that we can offer. Obviously, this was not a proposal that was monetized. This was, we're here for you, how can we help you? And it was so well received by all of our partners. I think that it was, you know, we had different responses. We had just, thank you for reaching out. We'll let you know if there's anything that comes up. Others, we got, you know, emails telling us about details about what they were going through during those days and the different shifts that they have been experiencing within their own organizations or companies. We received thank yous for being such great partners, and you know, we had those emails that came in that said, we're in this together. And so those are the kind of things that I think really have such a long life in terms of on the personal side. And I think that our partners really appreciated the offering that we had. So after that email, we received a wide range of outreach requests from sponsors. The next slide kind of illustrates some of those different things that we've received. And this first kind of phase of our outreach really just leveraged those normal things that we have included as assets on our sponsor proposals, like our city screens, which are located throughout the different city departments. All of our staff screensavers are the same. So we've offered that to partners in the past as assets. We obviously have our different social media pages for our events, but one thing that we've done, when meeting with sponsors prior to our current, you know, situation that we're in, is we've always mentioned and included as assets not only the event social media pages or platforms, we present it as a whole, as the whole city bundle, in terms of we have all of these different departments who manage their social media pages, and they have very different messaging, they have very different audiences that they're able to reach. So our sponsors have always had that at their fingertips in terms of something that they could utilize as partners of our city. And so this was no different. We would receive whatever images or messaging that they wanted us to put out, and our corporate relations manager would send it out to all departments that do manage a social media platform or page, and we would be able to then push it out. So if you see on there, we received something as simple as Reliance logo. We received different promotions from our QSR partners, either promoting their curbside delivery. It's not on here right now, but Raising Cane's at one point had an offering for face masks. So we included that image on our city screens, and I believe social media as well. All the way to, you know, we're in this together type messaging from partners like Driscoll Children's Hospital. So all of these ran on our different city screens, as well as screensavers, as I mentioned, and our social media platforms. On to the Michelob Ultra that you see there. Some of the some of the responses that we received didn't necessarily translate well on all pages, right? So we got a little bit creative. Each department had the freedom to determine the best usage of the content, because you know we know our audience best. So how can we still provide this service to our sponsors in a way that makes sense to our followers, right? For example, the Michelob Ultra request that we received, they are a sponsor of our McAllen Marathon, among other events. We received their request to share their Movement by Michelob Ultra Live with Diplo event, which is a really cool event. You know, we definitely wanted to give them that exposure. It's, you know, not a local offering. Many people are familiar with Diplo. Everybody knows Michelob Ultra. So we definitely wanted to make sure that we pushed it out in a smart, concise, and effective way. So this was not necessarily an offering from my point of view on the Parks and Recreation side that would have made obvious sense on our Parks and Recreation page. So what we did, it does offer yoga, but Michelob Ultra is definitely a marathon sponsor. So what we did was leverage that clear tie with the marathon, where we could share it on the McAllen Marathon social media platforms, and in a sincere way express gratitude to our partner because they are a supporter of that event specifically. We created a watch party on that Facebook page and then shared it on our parks page, our McAllen Nature Center page, other of our pages that we manage, and just kind of with the caption, check out what's going to be on McAllen Marathon at this time, tune in kind of thing. And I think that our partners at Michelob Ultra were really pleased with the different departments that pushed it out, and sure was a highly successful event, live event. Another partnership that I think is definitely worth mentioning, and I think a lot of us can identify with, would be our partnership with HEB. HEB is great partners of ours for many different events and offerings that we have throughout the city. I know for myself and other members of our team, it was able to pick up the phone and send a quick message because of the relationships that we have with HEB. Like just a simple, what are you doing? Or what you're doing is great at your stores. I will say that going back to what has been already mentioned during this webinar, those relationships are so important. And I think you work so hard at them so that they do become a sincere relationship, right? So when I was thinking about reaching out to our partners at HEB, and I did it when I had a sincere feeling about it, and I was just driving home. I passed an HEB with the line wrapped around the building, and I just sent a quick message to their community relations team that we work with for several of our events, and I just said that I was so impressed by all that they were doing, but not surprised at all. I think I put a "you rock" in there with an exclamation point, and there may have even been an emoji in there. And you know, it's just those things. I got a response from them very late in the evening because I imagine that that's when they were getting out. This group was not in their offices, but they were in store executing all of the efforts that HEB was working on. So I think that when, you know, you're in that type of situation and you get any kind of uplifting message, it really leaves a mark. And again, I did it in a sincere way, back to the ease of the relationship. I think that some of the examples that we had in the previous slide, I hope illustrate the kind of how our sponsor partnerships extend past our special events. And as I said before, I think communication before, during, and long after that year's event is so important. HEB, going back to HEB, sorry, I'm messing you up, Jay, with those slides. HEB is such an impactful corporate citizen in our communities, and I'm sure all of yours, that it extends beyond our special events. And so one example that I want to share with you all is our senior meal program. When we closed in mid-March, as I mentioned, we could no longer have our seniors come through our community centers. And our team worried for them. We were concerned about how they would continue to receive their meals that they rely on daily at our community centers. So this was something that we really worked hard to make sure that we would be able to continue to have that offering. In working with our meal provider and HEB, we have continued to offer meals to our seniors 3 times a week, with them receiving 1 hot meal and 1 cold meal for those days when they are not coming to the site to pick up their meal. So we immediately found an opportunity for relationship building in this, right? Not only with our partners, but with our community as a whole, because everyone is worried about the senior population. We want them to be safe, we want them to be healthy, but but we also want them to, we want to make sure that they're okay. So what we did was we documented the meal distribution with a video. The video was then published on all of our city social media platforms and shown on TV stations, several of which our media partners really worked with us. In some cases, the TV stations that showed the video or the commercial were a complimentary service from those partners. So we've really seen a lot of that within our community, everyone helping each other. So at this time, I'd like to share the video with you all, and we'll move on after that.
Carina, is that something I would do, or do you
Yeah,
have it?
I think if you click that arrow there at the bottom.
Got it. Okay, there we go.
Oh, is the sound not?
Or you're not hearing sound? Sometimes.
At the top where it says turn on original sound. There you go.
I've got the sound on. I'm hearing it. Are y'all not hearing the sound?
We can hear it softly, Jay. If you have your headphones in, it might be coming through your headphones, and that's why.
Well, I'm wondering if Jay, do you mind starting it again? And I'll start the sound over here, if we don't
I'll
mind.
try that.
Okay. All right. Is that any better?
Carina, we're not really able to hear it clearly, and I think we might be better if we just share the link afterwards, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
That works. Sorry about that.
So we can do that to share the link with everybody. I found this to be the case with some of the Zoom presentations. You know, it's sometimes hard to get all the audio pieces together. So, Jessica, is that what you'd suggest?
Yeah,
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think we should share the link afterwards, or even potentially, Carina, if you could share it in the chat window so people can look at it on their own time.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that video not only made HEB very happy, but it touched the hearts of our citizens, and I truly believe it helped to increase the number of daily meals we've served citywide. Currently, with our partnership with the McAllen Independent School District and Idea Public Schools and HEB, we're serving over 20,000 meals daily. So, you know, that city pride and that urge to help each other has really come through, I think, in a small way through that initiative. In addition, I think that seeing HEB doing that, it really prompted other partners like Cigna, who brought mariachis out for Mother's Day, and, you know, all kinds of different initiatives that we've had from our partners. Another outreach effort that we're working on is a simple care package that we're going to deliver to each sponsor of our events with promotional items. I know we're all on a budget, we're not spending right now, so we've just kind of brought together all of those items that we have, the different merchandise items, the different promotional items that we're obviously not using, you know, at community events right now. So ours is going to include our McAllen Holiday Parade ornaments, some merchandise, and even some non-event related items like a travel kit from our airport. So they don't host events, but they've definitely been impacted by COVID-19. And so this is a great way for our airport to gain those touch points. These are just some of the examples that we are implementing to foster our relationships, and we really truly believe they're going to have a positive impact on our relationships with our partners. One event that is really around the corner, I think, obviously for all of us, is our 92nd annual Independence Day celebration. We really had to go to the drawing board with this, like I know a lot of us are. How do we celebrate this national holiday while we keep everyone's health and safety at the forefront? So, weeks ago, we started creating a wish list of kind of a wish list of what are the different offerings that we will be able to offer. And I'll tell you that list has evolved from about over 30 items to less than 10 now, that we're now drilling down and detailing how we're going to be executing those. So we have determined that we are for sure moving forward with our Concert in the Sky extravaganza, just like Mike mentioned. Ours will you'll be able to view that from your home if you're within the viewing area of the fireworks, and also live on social media. And we're working to secure the possibility of having it broadcast on one of our media partners TV stations. We also are doing Decorate Your Home virtual contests, which have worked really well for us. We had a car show that we went virtual with a few weeks ago, and it's a car show that's typically at one of our community centers. We had the entries send us their photos, and then we did a voting day online. And the really interesting thing about that is, without even trying, we had calls from 2 sponsors of other events asking us if we needed anything, and they provided the prize packages for our participants. And obviously we didn't monetize it, but we did offer some fulfillment. We did a recap video of the winners, and we did some logo inclusion on there, and they were just so happy with it. Our participants really loved the prizes that they got, along with the trophy that we were providing. And it was just one of those things that we're top of mind with them, and they noticed what we were doing and reached out to us. So it was really kind of one of those unexpected but great things. We're also putting together a compilation video of our past parades that will be live streamed, and the opportunity to pick up Independence Day home activity kits where you can pick up at the community center and take home and do these activities with your child that are 4th of July themed, among a few other activities. So the really great thing about these and the other things that we're working on is that we really feel that they can be monetized. And we have already received communication from sponsors of last year's event who are ready to move forward and ready to move forward with whatever initiatives we have, and we'll just continue to get creative with how they can activate. So overall, once again, I think that our team's efforts have really been successful in letting our sponsors know that we are here for them, and we'll all get through this together.
Carina, that's awesome. I apologize for the video. We are going to put that link up for you all on the chat window, so you'll be able to see that directly. And so some great things going on there, and a great set of processes of including sponsors in a pivot, kind of looking at the landscape ahead and moving in a different direction and bringing along your partners. I think that's fantastic. I think we're going to have one more presenter, and it will take us just a few more minutes, but she's someone who's been a tremendous supporter of TFEA and with Saffire. Jessica Bybee-Dziedzic is our next presenter. And Saffire, as you know, is a leading website and ticketing company. And Jessica has served on the TFEA board for many years, and she's now on the board as the treasurer secretary. So she's also an event manager. She and her husband pursue their love of film as co-owners of the Austin Revolution Film Festival. So she'll talk a little bit about vendor communication. Jessica?
Hi, yes. Thanks so much, Jay. And I'll keep it pretty short, gang, because I know that we're running a little bit long here. But I just think from the perspective that everybody has sort of touched on here, which I really think is the message to take home, is focusing on those relationships and those partnerships. So like Jay mentioned, if you're not familiar with Saffire, we focus on providing ticketing and websites for our clients in the events industry. And I would say we really strive to help all of our clients feel like our partners. We never want to just feel like a vendor. We want to be part of the solutions for you. And I would say that's an opportunity you can lean on your partners for if you haven't been. You know, we're dealing with similar issues across the entire industry, across the entire country. So we've been able to see solutions be put into place that could work for you. And so things like, for us, the communication side of it can start off from a really logistical point of view. You know, we immediately, in just a 1 week time frame, saw almost all of the entirety of our business shut down. It from March through April was a quick shutdown that we saw happen. And then we've slowly started to see May and June be wrapped up into that, and July, and so on and so forth. And so for us, we had to quickly pivot into how to prepare for the fall when we already have a really huge log of business, but then we'll potentially have additional events happening as a lot of our spring events were postponing to September, October, November. So for us, from the sort of logistical side of things, we need to make sure that we're going to have enough equipment in place, right? So to run ticketing, we're going to have tons of iPhones out in the field, tons of printers out in the field, and we need to make sure that while we might need hundreds of iPhones on a normal Saturday in September, we might now need double or triple what we've needed in the past. And so for us, our communication with our clients has really been driven around, you know, if you're not sure if your event is happening, let's plan as if it is going to happen. And then our goal is to, of course, ensure that we're going to minimize any costs that you could incur in that process. So for us to plan on having the devices available for you, or whatever equipment you might need from your various partners that you work with to run your events, they need to just make sure they can source it, even if they're not going to necessarily have to charge you for it. For us, we don't charge for devices unless they actually ship out. And then if something happens in that even short window of time frame from its shipping, then we can still minimize costs by just having shipping and restocking fees type of information. The other piece that we really have to focus on is the logistics of what happens with our clients' tickets. If they've already sold tickets to an event that's canceled, you know, we need to run through the various options that they have so that they have a clear communication path to their customers, whether they want to refund all of their tickets or give the customer the option to refund their tickets, or potentially we've had some clients give their customers the option to say they want to donate the ticket sale to the organization, because they know that that basically is a community organization that they still want to support, even if there's not an event this year. We've also seen some people extend their tickets to say they're just going to be valid next year. So lots of different options on how you can run these different logistical pieces. And I feel like as a partner to so many different events across the country, we can really help come up with good solutions for you. So getting us involved in the conversation early is always a good bonus. If you can go to the next slide, Jay. As far as us communicating our message out to the broader audience, we have our normal just marketing emails that we like to get out that these go to our clients, but they also go to a broader audience, in that they're speaking to, you know, people we know in the industry, friends we have in the industry, potential clients in the future, things like that. And so for this, it's really, you know, a bright, colorful email marketing campaign where we've really just been sourcing great ideas that we've seen our events doing across the country and venues. We've seen, you know, the Portland Rose Festival is a website client of ours, and we were able to kind of promote how they ran their parade. We talked about it earlier this week in the 4th of July session. They ran a reverse parade and also had some virtual events. So we wanted to share those ideas. Some of our fairs have had the Fair Food Friday where you can actually go to the fairgrounds and get your corn dogs and funnel cakes. Some of our events have been able to manage to still host online sales for the livestock shows. If you have any experience with livestock shows, those kids put a lot of work and effort into getting their animals ready. And so we wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to still see the benefits of all the hard work that they had put into it. So for this broader audience communication, we're really focusing on sharing some inspirational ideas. But I would say kind of a big takeaway for this particular session, and we've heard all of the speakers sort of hit on it, is that you really kind of need to tailor your message to your different audiences. So if you head to your next slide, Jay, that's an email communication example of our broad audience. But then for our clients who are, in reality, those are Saffire stakeholders, right? They're the ones that we have the closer relationship with. For them, the email is kind of hiding in the background behind some of the images that go with it. For them, it wasn't necessarily a flashy email that got sent out. It was more of a normal, just text on white background email. It talked a lot about us being in this together, and we're here for you, kind of similar to what Carina said, really driving home the messaging of we're still your partners, we're here to help, and we can help come up with solutions with you. But then within that same email, we also wanted to provide a resource kit for our clients to be able to say, you know, we've seen people taking in donations. We know financially you guys are being hit really hard. So if you want to put up a donation page on your website, that's something our team can help you with, and we can show you how to set up a donation page. If you want to look at the contactless ticketing so you can reduce the number of touch points that you have with your customers and guests as they're coming in, we've got solutions for that we can share with you. And then we also shared some of our association resources that are available to the public, like this TFEA webinar series, so that we're just really trying to become a resource for our clients, and we tailored our communication in that way to, you know, have it be a lot more personal and a lot more useful for what they were looking for. And just in the spirit of wanting to make sure we're respectful of everyone's time, I would say that's just it. Get your partners involved early. Because they work with so many events across the country, they're going to be a great resource for you to be able to share ideas with what they're seeing with other folks. So I'll wrap it up there. And if anybody has questions they want to ask for the entire panel, you can go ahead and ask them in that questions and answers panel. Or if you want to raise your hand and ask a question, that's an option as well.
Jessica, great news there. I'm going to go ahead and unshare the presentation. And if there are any questions so far, the Q&A is empty. I think what I'm going to do is turn it over to Kay, and you know, if there's any hand raises, let me know. Go ahead and we'll take this opportunity to thank everybody for coming. Okay, are you?
I'm here.
Okay.
I will thank everybody for joining in, and especially the panelists that all worked so hard to put this together. It's not an easy job to pull together everybody at one time, and I know that we're getting some nice compliments on our thanks to all the panelists. You're all doing a great job today. Thank you. And that kind of thing goes a long way for our panelists that are taking their time to do this. I will give you just a quick update. on the TIMI program, the Texas Event Management Institute. We will be rolling out this next week our webinar series that will last from June all the way through April. We will provide you with 13 opportunities to get 13 different sessions in the fast track. So keep an eye out for your emails and information on that. Other than that, I would say thanks to everybody, and everybody have a great weekend.